BBC Radio Stoke. We'll talk quite a bit this week, as we do most weeks actually in one way or another, about mental health. World Mental Health Day on Thursday. Ahead of that, I've been to a new £1.1 million centre for people with mental health crisis, which is opening soon at Harplands Hospital in Stoke-on-Trent. It will bring together, as far as I can tell, for the first time in the area, crisis care for people of all ages from across the region. Earlier, I had a bit of a preview and a tour and started by meeting the hospital's Director of Operations, Jonathan O'Brien.
We're currently stood in the entrance to our new crisis care centre, and the aim is to bring together the different crisis services from all across the trust to bring them into one place to be able to provide the very best care possible to patients who are experiencing mental health crisis and need urgent care.
And this is special not just for the area, but I think nationally, isn't it, for offering 24/7, 365 crisis care to anyone of any age?
Absolutely. So we already have an access service and home treatment service for adults with mental health needs that operates 365 days a year, 24 hours. Our aim with the centre is to bring the wider range of services together into one place in a purpose-built environment so that we can offer an all-age, 24-hour response to anyone in our community who's experiencing mental health crisis.
Yesterday in the news there was a thing about, they call it the estate, don't they? It's the buildings and the people and all the rest of it when it comes to mental health being not very good across the country. And yet here we are in Stoke with a brand new £1.1 million facility.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly more work we would wish to do to other facilities that the Trust runs to bring them up to exactly where we want to be. But I think this really represents the flagship for us in cementing our status for our crisis services as being outstanding, which they were rated earlier in the year when they were inspected by the Care Quality Commission.
I'm Joanne Willis. I'm the new service manager for the Crisis Care Centre, newly appointed.
You're going to show me around?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
So obviously at the minute we've just stepped into the main reception area. This will be the consultation areas where we will see individuals that present in crisis or are invited via a phone consultation to come up for a crisis assessment.
Okay, let's have a quick look inside then, and if that's all right. We're allowed in here, yeah? Got lovely hot air balloons on the window, which are kind of louvered, so you can have it open or closed, I suppose. We've got seats. We've got a sort of bed-like thing, a sink, curtain. What will happen in here?
An individual that presents in crisis or comes for a crisis assessment will have a full assessment of the mental health to determine what sort of support that they need, the level of support. From that assessment, it might mean that they require admission to the Harplands here in the bedded unit, or we can signpost them to our home treatment service or back out into the community after that crisis assessment. That initial calming down period, just being able to come to talk to somebody can quite often just be enough.
Onward, back into reception we go, back past the hot air balloons. I'm particularly taken by those.
We've just got two similar rooms here.
Yeah.
A little bit smaller in size because there isn't the examination couch because it's not anticipated that that's needed in every scenario. So a smaller room here, but equally it's pleasant. We have a clinic room where we may need to administer medication, where the home treatment team can come back and secure their medication, where we might need to do blood tests for people while they're here.
So if someone calls in a crisis, their call will come into this room, and if needs be, they'll be assessed just round the corner in another room here if it's like, no, you need to come and see us.
Yeah. What we ask is that the call comes in so as we can triage it appropriately. It might be that it's more appropriate for us to attend the person's home, and they might not necessarily have to come to the centre. For our children that need assessment as well, we have a number of buildings belonging to the Trust throughout the city of Stoke-on-Trent that we might be able to facilitate an assessment in that building. But obviously the call will come in and the risk assessment will be done to determine the level of need and whether that can wait until later on in the day or whether they need to come in.
Back onto another corridor. It's all very clean and tidy at the moment, but that's because the staff haven't moved in, let's be honest. When's it all moving over, and what does that mean for users?
The first team will move in next week on the Monday, and the access team will move in the following day. But what we want to stress is there'll be no disruption to any crisis services, and teams will move in whilst they continue to operate in the same way that they are now.
A week before it opens, a preview of the new Mental Health Crisis Centre at Harplands Hospital in Stoke-on-Trent. Really interesting to see what they're doing there. Having spent some time in A&E a couple of weeks ago before we did the programme from the Royal Stoke University Hospital, which is right next door to Harplands, how there seems to be this trend now in the NHS to have services almost close to each other or right next to each other. And a big part of what they're doing at Harplands is trying to have mental health crises and mental health emergencies go there rather than go to A&E, because they have the psychiatrists and the teams required, the kind of people you'd need to see if you're going through a mental health crisis in a way that maybe they don't at A&E. It's a really interesting idea, and the idea as well that you call up the hotline should you need to. And that's been open 24/7, 365 for some time now. And the people you speak to there may well be the people who would do your assessment a bit later on as well, in the same building. Interesting idea. Opens next Monday. And as we heard there should be no disruption to any patients using the service or any users. More on that, I'm sure, in the coming weeks here on BBC Radio Stoke. We'll get a roundup of what's been happening politically. More questions about